Okay, I'm going live here because I want to try out a couple of the things I've got on OBS, and we'll see how it all works out, whether it'll show or not. And if you, Paul, or Doug want to, well, I can see it here on my other screen as well. But let's just see what happens here. VA3 KBC.
All right, very good, DJ. Paul, I'm just looking through the manual because I never memorized what he's using. He is using, hold your horses here. Where the heck is it? The transistor is LDMOS 1803s, MHT 1803s. So I believe, oh God, what model is this? Is this the 1,000 watt? What would make sense? Do I have 2 or 4 of those? I forgot. What would make more sense?
Well, I would say you probably have 2 because the LD MOS that I have has a pair of BLF 188XRs in it, and that's good for 2400. I wouldn't run it there, but it'll cruise comfortably at 2K.
I'm not ignoring you. I'm just reading here. He has a 1,000 watt version that uses the same transistor. And yeah, so 2 would make sense because I think he's using 1 on the kilowatt. The amp weighs about 47 pounds. Huge heatsink.
I'll tell you what, it's definitely doing its thing. Hey DJ, what do you got going on now?
I've been playing with OBS, and I've got, so I can dismiss that. I can let me do this. Are you watching the stream?
Why, sweet me.
Okay, I've got now where I can put sources on the screen here. As I said to Doug, this series I'm doing, it's a little more involved than what I thought it was going to be. And there's so much involved in amateur radio that it's, boy, I'll tell you, where the heck do you start? I want to start off with licensing, but there's just so much stuff out there that, so anyhow, so that's kind of what I'm putting together right now. I got to change that a little bit. I want to make that a little bit bigger. But anyhow, so yeah, that's what I'm doing, Paul.
I have a question, or looking for your opinions, gentlemen.
Go ahead.
All right, so I've been studying for the extra, but my studying is sporadic due to work-life balance. If you were me, I'm 43 years old. I love all this audio crap. The main reason I want the extras so I could go down to 3630 and play with the AK boys. But I've also never learned code. And I've been really intrigued by it lately. If you were going to put the time in, would you get the extra or would you learn code?
Get the extra. Then get the code.
If you learn code, that doesn't give you the ability to go to 36.
Well, you answered my question. Because even if I get on a code kick, I'm going to always come back to the audio.
Yep. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, guys. Good evening. Norway 2 Queen Fox. Hello, Don. Hello, Dougie. Learn the extra. You can always learn the code.
Well, let me just turn my speakers down now that the big gun is here. Hold on. Okay. All right. Yes, I think extra's the right thing to do. How you doing, Frank?
All right, pretty good. I hope I didn't wallow up in anyone else's ideas, but fundamentally, honestly, a lot of guys aren't using CW. That number's dwindling as the crowd gets older. Not saying it's not a valuable tool, something I would love to have spent the time doing. I just don't have that much time to dedicate to do it, but I always wanted to learn the code, but definitely the extra is something you probably get more daily use out of.
Well,
Yep, and you know what? Now that I have the flex rank, I can use CW skimmer.
Just like everyone else. And Paul, I think Paul was in there too. I apologize.
well, that's all right, but I was just going to say, Frank, if CW is viable or not, doesn't it depend on, you know, the operator? Is the code is still a very big part of the hobby.
Yeah, I didn't mean to take away from it, and it probably was it probably wasn't structured properly the way I meant it. What I mean is that a lot of the old timers more so use it than the younger generation coming in today. So, I mean, I think it's going to be less popular as it goes through. I'm always about preserving it. I think it's a completely wonderful mode. I'm not knocking it. I just thought that the efforts, if he had a little time knowing Doug's schedule, and I know he's a dad, and I just thought I'd probably put my time towards the extra, because you have a lifetime to learn code, right? And the extra, at least you can get out there and start using it a little sooner. You can be up and running in 30 days. You're not going to be up and running on code in 30 days.
Exactly. That's how I feel.
You've all convinced me to go back to my little hand prep app and finish studying for the extra.
Bingo.
Take away from the argument the importance of CW, and I'm sorry I kind of came in here like a gun, a loaded gun, and just weighing my opinion, and I didn't mean to distract from what everybody else might have had to say. I was just, I understand your lifestyle. It's still probably somewhat relevant to me, and maybe not as much as the thick of it as you're in it, but your kids are much younger, but I get the time constraints.
We all agree, Frank. We were all on the same wavelength there.
Well, I kind of knew the answer too. I just wanted to hear it. If you all said the same thing, so I'm heading in the right direction.
Okay, all right. I came in here hot. I wasn't sure.
So you guys want to hear something weird about RFI? I guess that's a yes. Let me see if I have. All right, so in this shack and even in the old house, I don't get RFI on transmit. I get it sometimes crackling in my headphones. If I reach, this is what's weird. Now my antenna is very far from the shack. It's much further than the last QTH. If I put my arm out straight in front of me and touch the amplifier, the crackling gets worse in the headphones. I lift my hand off the amp, the crackling goes away pretty much.
You're creating a loop.
I was going to say ground loop.
Yep. Would that also mean the RFI is getting into the amp?
Not necessarily.
Let's see what happens if I touch the Anan. One. Yep. Oh, it gets real hot when I touch the Anan. What about the power supply? Nothing on the power supply. Hot on the Anan. So it crackles a lot on the Anan.
Is everything grounded except for the audio chain?
Frank, come on. Do you really think I put a ground rod in? I didn't.
All right, there you go.
Nothing's grounded. I can do it, and I can do it pretty easily. So I have my monitors and my TV mounted in front of me on the wall. Behind that wall is a closet, just open beams. Remember, I'm in a basement. And then behind the closet wall is the garage. So I could put it there's a deck out to the left wall, there's a window, and then there's a deck. So that's off limits. I can have a stake put in through the concrete in the garage, a rod, and I could do the ground there.
Tie into the same ground that your electrical's on, otherwise you can have potential differences.
All right, how bad is it that would probably be about a 30-foot run of wire?
I would sink another ground stake in, but tie into the main house ground and just extend it out. Using just tie in. You should really have one every 10 feet roughly, if you can. Even if you use a 4-footer, I mean it's not great, but pound that down, just tie it down, and use a grounding plate outside, and just tie right into that.
All right. You think a 30-foot run of copper wire will be a problem?
Only maybe on, what band? Maybe 20. But, if you sink those ground rods, you should be all right. I mean, worst case scenario, you can lift the ground off, but, you know, these guys might have a different opinion, so I would weigh in. I'm just giving you how I did it here, and I'm not free from it, but it's helped a lot. But all I will say is the one thing that was given to me, if you ground one thing, you got to ground everything.
My ground here, Frank, I have an open wire. I stripped, what was it, 214? I think it was 214 that I stripped the ground, and I have the ground wire from everything goes in one length, from the tuner to the amplifier to the radio to a bus bar, and then going outside and under the sunroom, they put those stainless steel auger, the post in, and I have grounded to 3 of those posts. And the shorter the wire going to your ground outside, the better. So that's how I have mine. I was told have it all one length, so that's how I did mine here. And what happened to my stream? So that's what I did mine, whether it's right or wrong.
And 4 FUX50.
VA3 KBC.
2 UKF.
And 2 QQF.
Well, grounding everything in here isn't the problem. It's the actual rod and the run to the rod. So yeah, if I take the time to put the rod in, I'll put a bus in here and everything will be tied to that.
Yeah, just make sure you tie it into the main house ground, because the problem is you're going to start having variable impedances, right? Because the electrical outlets are to the radios and the power supplies are going to have a different ground potential than the other items. So just a word of advice, try to ground everything to the same center point ground.
I think I could probably get a 10-foot run to where I could get a ground rod. And then I could get from that ground rod, I'll probably be another 15 feet to the house ground.
Yeah, that'll be fine. I mean, it's not coming in over your audio, right? It's just, you can also take the cheap way out and get the mats, right? And just start putting those mats down and just, tie all the equipment together. And that'll straighten out a little bit of the impedances you're having. You just tie all the grounds. I'd start doing that first, right? Tie all your equipment together first and see what happens.
Yeah, well, I'm going to redo the shack in a couple of days. Captain Darren, I don't know if, are you still in the signal group?
Yeah.
So he redid his shack and he inspired me. He has this metal rack. I have one here that the previous owners left. I'm going to use it. I'm going to put some stuff on there. So right now, the Apache is close to the tuner and close to the feed line. So it might help just getting it away from that.
Listen, I'll say what I'm sure Don and Paul and I don't know who else is out here, if anyone else. Everyone's situation is just a little different. I'm on the second floor, so it's a little different. If you really want great grounding advice, the R56, Motorola put out a document. Oh my God, it keeps calling. A document, the R56 standards, which is for grounding for everything telecom. It's kind of like the Bible for installation, radios, two-way radio, pretty much everything. You can use that, and they'll give you really great advice on how to do grounding. I mean, that's over the top, but R56 standards are pretty good.
All right, I'll give it a look. Well, if I get everything on a rack, for the most part, like the power supply, the amp, the tuner, the Anan, the flex, and then the computer could be on the desk. And when you say everything, you mean everything, right? Computers, monitors, TVs, cameras, everything that's getting electricity.
Everything that's going to connect to your radio, I would suggest grounding. If try it. Just use like even smaller gauge wire and just link everything together and see what starts to happen. And a lot of that stuff might clear up. You'll see. It might not be an issue after that. But, some people hate grounds, right? They swear that they're going to get hit by electricity if they get a ground. I can tell you that I've been hit by electricity and I had ground. So, there's so many different schools of thought. Paul, DJ, what do you guys think?
Well, I got hit, what was it, a week after you got hit, and I had things grounded, so it still came in. But if you remember Rick, N9HLL, he had that grounding what you were talking about, Frank, and his shack, right to the max. He got hit. He had $30,000 damage. Every plug receptacle was blown out. Everything was destroyed. He doesn't ground anything now. He says you can ground that thing to the max, but when you get hit by the big one, it isn't going to help. But I still have grounding, and I redid the grounding for the tower where the doublet is, and I have a grounding, lightning and surge protection on the ladder line as well. And I have a ground rod, 3 ground rods where the other tower is with the beam. And I have the, one of those small, I forget what the heck they're called. Brain dead here. But it's got that surge protection on it as well. So I'm still grounding stuff, and I have it grounded in the shack here as well, copper plate going out, grounded out to those ground rods there. So the best thing is when a storm's coming, I go out and I unhook the coax from both the beam and from the doublet there, the 4-to-1 Ballon, and I have battery backup with surge protection in the shack for the computers, for the power supply. Everything is on that, so when the hydro goes out, everything will still run except the amp because it's on 240. But I have the battery backup with surge protection with those, so that's kind of how I've done that for the electrical part of it. So whether that right or wrong, I don't know, but it's just one step that I've done to correct that. So anyhow, VA3 KBC.
Hey, Paul, what do you think?
I think you said Mark. Was it Mark? DJ, when I get a lightning warning or I look at the forecast and I see there's a possibility tonight, while I'm sleeping, I unhook the feed line from the equipment, right? If you take a direct hit and you have your feed line unhooked, but you're grounded, and let's say your entry point is grounded, everything's grounded, and you're grounded to the electrical main, I don't see how you're not blowing everything in the house.
Yeah, I don't know. All my electrical, it comes from the post underground. So anyhow, I got to help Carol here with get Bryson bath and get ready for bed. So, and I have to apologize, Doug. I was concentrating on doing what I was doing here, and I didn't really ask you how your day at work was. I know you've gone back to work, and that I wasn't thinking of asking how things went for you, but I'll talk to you a little bit later. I'm going to shut the stream off here. I think we're done with playing around. I've got what I want to do with it. I figured out how to get stuff on the screen there, and I just keep working away at it, and then I'll be able to start doing these series on amateur radio. I'll be back in a bit, guys. VA3 KBC.
All right, DJ. Yep, you have a good night. I'm going to be off here in I've got about another 40 minutes, and then I'm off, maybe 50. No worries whatsoever. Work was fine. I survived. Everything will be good. 73.
Yep, see you later, DJ.
7-3, DJ. And to kick you off.
Yeah, I'll be back. I just got to give her a hand here.
Hey, Paul, you want to weigh in with your grounding thoughts?